In this lesson, we'll learn how to add audio files to our project by creating an audio control widget. Okay, so in the previous lesson, we learned how to create and apply hotspots within our interactive document here. Now at this point, I've kind of already built some basic vector shapes up here that we're going to be hooking up as we bring in our audio. Now these are on our B navigation master, so let's go ahead and double click on that master page. Now you'll also notice here that I've begun adding some additional elements down here for a document navigation bar. You can see here that I've kind of got planned out thumbnails for each page in the document. Now if we double click on one of these and take a look in the links panel, you'll notice that these are the nav_01 through 010 files in your project files. So if you want to go ahead and work on creating this on your own, or if you want to pick up where I have left off here, I've gone ahead and hooked up the first 3 thumbnails for you. And that's kind of how we're going to proceed from here on out with this course. If I've already kind of showed you the techniques for creating a certain interactive component, I'm going to go ahead and begin building some additional interactivity into our document here. Now at this point, let's come up here and focus on these graphics here. So the first thing we probably should go ahead and do is bring in our audio file. So let me hit Control D on my keyboard to bring up the place dialog, and I'm going to grab this dt_music.mp3. Now you'll see my cursor gets loaded up with that particular audio file, and I'll just go ahead and click right down here below our audio controls. And you can see here that I've actually got that dropped into the document navigation. Let me go ahead and move that down to the content layer here. Alright, great. So now you'll notice here that in presentation mode this appears to be an invisible object. But let me hit W to jump out of presentation mode, and you'll notice here that we get some lines through this indicating that it's a multimedia file, and we also get the little audio icon in the top left hand corner. So now again, this does appear to be invisible as of right now. Now one thing you need to keep in mind regarding bringing an audio file into your interactive document, you always want it to be on the actual document page. You never want it to be more than halfway across the border into the pasteboard, because then it's going to break your audio link between this file and your buttons, and it's not going to end up working for you. So now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and leave this on the master page here. And this, to be honest, is probably the main reason that I've got 2 master pages based on this current master page. So I only have to use 1 copy of this file. Now if we had a copy of this file on each one of these master pages and they were not based on the B navigation master, then it's possible that an individual could have 2 versions of this audio file playing at the same time, and we definitely don't want that. So let's go ahead and jump up here and let's hook up our buttons. I'm going to go ahead and grab this play button here, or this graphic that we want to be our play button. We'll click the normal appearance state, and let's just call this play. Now I'm going to go ahead and click the rollover state, because I want to create a slightly different version of this button for the rollover. So let me jump over here to the swatches panel, and I'll grab a different color. Let's make the rollover green, just like so. And we'll go ahead and click back on the normal state here. Now let me go ahead and grab the stop button, and let's go ahead and create it in a similar fashion here. We'll just call this stop. Click on the rollover state, and let's go ahead and give it a red fill for the rollover state here. So we'll go ahead and jump that one back over to the normal appearance state as well. And let's go ahead and hook up the audio at this point. So we'll start with the play button here. We're going to give it an on release event, and we're going to tell it to load sound for the action. Now once I've selected that action, you'll see down here below we get some sound options. We have a drop down where we can select the sound file. If we have multiple files in our document, we could drop this down and select the file we want. This document only has 1 in it, so we only have the 1 listed here. Now if I come over here and look under options, you can see here that I have several options. We have play, stop, pause, and resume. And we even have one for stop all. Now keep in mind this one only is for flash output. So let's go ahead and select play here. And let's go ahead and jump over to our stop button, and let's go ahead and add a similar action for the on release event. We'll go ahead and grab that sound action, and we'll go ahead and input the option to stop here. Alright, great. So really, it's that simple to hook up our audio file. Now, our audio files do need to be in MP3 format, so if you have audio files in other formats, go ahead and use your preferred software to convert those over to MP3 before you bring them into InDesign here. Now let's go ahead and focus again on this audio file object. Remember, it looks like it's invisible. Let me go ahead and show you an example PDF, and we're going to look here at this. This is the audio widget that we've just built here, and it's hooked up in this PDF. Now, right now, the object does appear to be invisible. Remember, we dropped that right down in this area down here. Watch what happens when I click my play button here. If I go ahead and click play, the first time I click play, notice the music does not begin playing here. Instead, what happens is it actually loads that MP3 and makes it visible here. Now, if we look really close, Acrobat Reader has actually placed in here a small audio control widget with advanced and a scrub bar and a volume control. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to tell Reader not to load this little widget here. So it's going to take a second click on the play button to begin playing the music. Now, we can always click the stop button to stop that music, but let me show you sort of some things we can do to either kind of exploit this little widget that's being shown, or even maybe hide it just a little bit. Let's go ahead and minimize that here. Now, with my audio file selected, let's jump over here and take a look at a new panel here first. Let's look at the media panel. Looks like a little film strip button here. And you can see with our object selected, we can hit this play button and preview that audio object. This is also going to work with videos, but we'll look at that in the next lesson. Now, let me go ahead and pause that here, and let's go ahead and look below. You see we have a few options here in the media panel. We can actually tell InDesign to play this audio file on page load, but I'm not a real big fan of that option, to be honest with you. I know that whenever I go to a website and music immediately begins playing, I find myself looking immediately for the stop button. So I don't like to force music down people's throats, so personally I avoid that option, but we do have it. It is there. We also have stop on page turn as well as loop for options on this audio file here. Now, the poster is something a little different. Let me go ahead and drop this down. You'll see that currently it's set to none. If we drop this down, you can see here that we have options for standard and choose image. Now, a standard poster is basically going to input an image into this frame so that it's no longer an invisible object. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like here. You can see here is the default poster. Now, if we wanted to use another poster for this particular multimedia object that's not the default, we could just simply come in here and say choose image, and we'll be presented with a browse dialog. Now, if the poster is larger than the frame that currently contains that image, then the image itself will be clipped. So one thing to keep in mind here. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and switch that back over to none right now, and let me show you what I would probably do if we didn't want this little audio widget to be visible when we hit that play button. I'm going to go ahead and move that up here. Now, unfortunately, like I mentioned before, that is always going to be visible, but we could actually scale this down. You can see right now the dimensions are 60 pixels by 60 pixels. We could hit Control, Shift, Alt, and grab this corner control, and we can scale this down from the center, and you can see here we're shrinking it down. We could scale this all the way down to where it's really only about a pixel by a pixel in size. Something like that. Let me zoom in just a little closer, see if we can get it a little smaller. There we go. That is something very small. So that is still there. It will still load, but it will load at that drastically reduced size here. And the only noticeable really glitch to this in the PDF is going to be the fact that it probably will still take 2 clicks on the play button to actually play that audio file. Alright, great. Now at this point, let me go ahead and show you one last PDF example here, and let me go ahead and mouse over here. There we go. This is the audio widget we have just built, and we have shrunk down that audio file, so it's hopefully not going to be visible here. Now if I click play at this point, clicking it once will load that in its very small state over here to the right. Clicking it again will actually play the music. Then we can mouse over and stop the music by hitting the stop button here. And you can see here there's that additional interactivity that I've built in down here for the document navigation bar. Now, I want to go ahead and veer off course just for a minute because this is a pretty important note, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier to you. I am using a previous version of Acrobat Reader to display these PDFs. I believe the version I'm using is 9.4. Now, I have noticed in the latest version, as of right now it's 10.1.1, that there are some issues in that version with displaying InDesign buttons and the rollover states. If you're using that version, you may actually see flickering rollover states for these buttons down here, as well as the buttons in the audio widget up here. So hopefully that'll be fixed in the next version, but if you're using 10.1.1, I would just recommend for right now downgrading to a previous version of Acrobat Reader. Alright, so with that said, let's go ahead and move on. We've covered in this lesson how to create audio interactivity in our InDesign files. So let's go ahead and move on. In the next lesson, we'll pick up and actually learn how to bring video files into our InDesign documents.